Supposing we were to take the example of the chimpanzee and go back to trying to interact directly with...
We can't do that.
Is it possible? It's
No,
not possible.
it's not possible. Individuals could do it.
We've unlearned it.
Yeah, we've unlearned it. And in a way, we've got aspirations that are different. And, you know, as I say, individuals can do that and do sometimes. But as a society, we have to find a more environmentally sustainable way of leading our lives. We have to do something about the unsustainable way most people lead their lives.
Possible?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yes. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but every one of us every day can think about our environmental footprint. You know,
Fantastic.
What are the consequences of this decision I make? What I buy, what I eat, what I wear. How does it affect A, B, and C? And if we start thinking that way and making environmentally and socially responsible choices, when millions of us do it, it's going to make a difference. We have to cope with tremendous poverty, because if you're really poor, you cut down the last trees to grow food or to make charcoal to get some money, or you live in an urban area, you buy the cheapest foods because you have to, and you can't ask yourself, where was it made? Did it harm the environment? Did it involve animal suffering, child slave labor, and so on? But everybody can say to themselves, do I really need this? And we have to get away from this consumer society.
What is the most significant difference between people and animals?
Explosive development of our intellect, which I believe is triggered by the way that we're communicating now with words. So I can tell you about things you've never seen or even thought about, and that can trigger something in your mind. We could bring 10 people together from different disciplines to discuss a problem. We could share information. We could plan a course of action. We could take information from the distant past. We can teach our children about things that are not present. And I believe that has triggered this explosive development of the intellect. So the bizarre thing is, this most intellectual species to ever walk the planet, how come we're destroying our only home? It's crazy, but you know as well as I do what we're doing.
It's interesting because the bee, all those things you describe, bees do. They communicate distance, for example, for certain things, or they communicate. Ant hives are a really great example of cohesive communication, full community, a city. They're farmers, they're caretakers, they have nurseries, these kinds of things. But they don't sort of deviate from their natural formation. But we have this capacity, it seems. So it's an interesting dilemma.
Yeah. So we are destroying the planet very rapidly, just because we're so clever. I would get back in the evening. I was out every morning before light, every morning. Weekends didn't exist. And I'd get down when it was just dark. And, we had this tiny camp, and there was the cook, and he cooked a bit of simple supper because we couldn't, there was nothing much to cook. And I was despondent because I hadn't been close to the chimps. I hadn't seen anything, I thought. But it was Mum who said, Jane, you're learning more than you think. You see how the chimps move around, sometimes alone, sometimes in small groups, sometimes small groups meeting up for a fruiting season on a tree. You're learning how they bend over branches in the evening and make a sleeping platform or nest. You're learning the kind of foods that they eat. And so she really boosted my morale, and it was very sad. She left just before the breakthrough observation, which was the one chimp who'd begun to lose his fear, David Greybeard. And this amazing day, I saw this hand reach out, break off a grass stem, push it carefully down into a termite mound, leave it for a moment, carefully pull it out, and then eat off the termites. And so that was a chimpanzee using a tool. Then breaking off a leafy twig, and before he could use that as a tool, he had to strip the leaves. That was making a tool. And at that time it was thought that humans, and only humans, used and made tools.
It must have taken a lot of intuition. And nobody told you how to do any of this, and it wasn't written anywhere, and it was so. How did you do that?
Well, because I'd always loved animals. When I was a child, I used to go out and sit and watch birds and their nests, and I had a very close relationship with my dog, and one or two pets that I had, and so I had this intuitive understanding of who animals are and why they do what they do. And so when I got into the field with the chimpanzees, the biggest problem was they'd never seen a white ape before, and they took one look and ran away. And, this was the worst time out of all these years, was because, I knew that if I didn't start seeing exciting things, important, relevant things, that there would be no more money. There was just this one person saying, okay, money for 6 months, and for 3 of those 6 months, the chimps were running away. And even longer, actually.
There must have been a moment where you did something that otherwise someone would think it would be very dangerous or strange, but you felt it right somehow.
I don't know. I don't feel anything was particularly dangerous.
Okay.
David Greybeard got used to me. Then I would meet a group in the forest ready to run as usual, and David was there, so they kind of looked from him to me and back, and I suppose they thought, well, she's not so dangerous after all. And then I observed them, followed them. For a while they came to camp eating bananas, and we finally stopped that. And yes, there were dangerous situations when you're on the edge of a drop on a cliff, and if a male chimp displays by and pushes you over, that's the end of you. But, you don't think about that, not till afterwards.